ducks are drinking wine. Bacbaz. Bacbaz? Okay, Bacbaz is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré, des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré, des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente, è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo, io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi... dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
A computer or quack, and here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, quack sounds vaguely like hogun and the hok in hogun in Korean or waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same Chinese character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, sa chambre chassée, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idiomas, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This is Dikhe Ishai Fui, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing. How are the boys? Cocine tapon. Poso milao. Pote. Buenas, proteine. Utros. In the designated chicken-eating area, obviously.
Okay, still 3 times I have to defeat him. And I don't have a whole lot of health left.
Monsieur. Livre. Liwe, livre.
Mustan kissan paksut posket.
맞아요. Yeah. Sí. Eso sí. 맞아요. Croce. Inter.
Oh, well, I was indeed cutting out. In fact, I was not even cutting in, because I had my microphone muted and didn't note it. So let me just start that over again. Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I'm Elise, translator, writer, editor with 20 working languages, and this is a stream where we talk about languages, everything to do with them, how to learn them, your questions about them, and we look at what's going on language YouTube, the best stuff, and perhaps some of the stuff that isn't necessarily all that great. Okay, and we also play GeoGuessr, which we are about to get stuck into. And I had some problems with my noise gate lately, which is partially probably down to my mic not being in exactly the right position for me to be talking into it from this angle. If you're hearing me cutting in and out, please do let me know. In the meantime, let's go. Let's do some geoguessing. Let's travel around to the world's most random-ass places. My best score of all time is 24,991 points out of 25,000. And we shall see if I can equal or beat that. I've come close a couple of times, but I have not managed it yet. That's nearly perfect. And nearly perfect is actually kind of hard on some of these maps. Okay, got a right side driving place. Doesn't feel like North America somehow. Bazzy. Okay, that's a bit blurry, but it feels like it's probably... It looks like Portuguese. Make out most of it, but... Let's see. A lot of places, but I think Brazil, that looked like Portuguese, and sign looked fairly weathered. Doesn't really feel like Portugal. Hang on, was that a sign just now? No, it was a fence. Let's see, so where... I mean, this is definitely giving Brazil. It's giving South America. Sure, too. Yeah. Yeah, that's, yeah, we're in Brazil. Trouble with Brazil, and especially if you're trying to get a perfect score in this game, that Brazil is a huge, huge, huge country. There's a lot of Brazil. It is not easy if you're just dropped in a random place, because there's tons of middle of nowhere in Brazil. There are tons of places that are nowhere near a major population center, and the signposting isn't always highly informative. Regional. Mas, 10ª festa agronegócio de Limoeira. Você é nosso algo. Realização, sociedade, criadores, animais. Okay, so we got a livestock exposition, and the place is called Limoeira. Sei lá, não conheço. Ai, ouvi falar. Wait. You gotta put... Okay, that's an interesting approach. From Jesus is my co-pilot to Jesus is blocking my view on the windscreen. Like... Is that street legal in Brazil? Você pode chegar aonde quiser, da educação infantil ao ensino médio, colégio convergente. A gente fica no Brasil, mas onde? Limoeiro, PE. PE. Existe um estado, ela PE. Ah, Pernambuco. Sim. Fica no estado de Pernambuco. Acho que é a primeira vegada. E que este estado está sufragoso, possui e ciumentos. Casa Nova, capital da sedução de vazio. Está Arco Verde, Baúba, Mari, Carpi, Sério. Caralho, fica ali, Limoeiro. Se eu gosto muito do Fichópolis. Right. So we are in Pernambuco, one of the smaller states. up in the north. I don't think we've ever been here before. Looking for a town called Limuel. Guessing probably in the interior more than in the coastline, because I see no sign of coastline. Oh wait, I've already left Pernambouc. Way south of Pernambouc. Yeah, dude. It's Hollandia. Limuero. Okay. So, we've got Limuero. Now, know what road we are exactly on. Oh wait, this is a major intersection. Okay. Which way have we been going? We've been going northwest. So, you started east of it. Started southeast. And we've ended up at this intersection. We haven't gone very far. But we're somewhere, we're on the 50. And probably not too around. Okay. Not a bad start, so. It really annoys me how small that map is. It's very hard to find things. Let's okay. Carpina and João Alfredo. Ah, there we go, Limoeiro. $49.91. If I get perfect for all the rest of this, I will have equaled my record. Okay, so Oxymore. This feels French, maybe? I need to work on this lighting. It is doing unfortunate things to the rings under my eyes. Not quite the right angle. Yeah, I'm feeling like this is maybe French countryside. Let's see. I think we've got some interesting videos at today as well. Seeing double? What do you mean? Oh shit, yes, I see what you mean. Thank you for letting me know. There we go. Hello, Erica. How you doing today? Should no longer be seeing two GeoGuessr windows. This is a collection of my own compositions. As I learn to compose things. Okay, we gotta see some signs of someplace. And how's my audio? I was noticing, I recorded a thing last night, and I noticed the noise gate was cutting out really bad on me. Am I cutting out now? Nutrition équine. Okay. Ah, beautiful. Okay, I thought it was giving France, and no, well, it said nutrition équine, so that, I mean, that's French. This feels French to me. Yeah, countryside in Britain, you'd see way more, like, hedgerows and stuff. Serverie, Ratien. Wait. This is a French place. French countryside is such a huge pain in the ass. Wait a second. Are you seeing double again by any chance? Oh no, oh, this is like weird. There's a delay. Ah, now I understand. Got it. I was worried that somehow it managed to go back to doubling GeoGuessr. Okay. Modification horaire. Enlèvement marchandises. Livraison, emballage. Matière. Okay. What the French countryside is that, as far as I can tell, there is zero rhyme or reason to French regional route numbers. Submitted? Submitted for what? Yeah, that... Hello, David Ashworth. Welcome. Bayonne. Erorade. Okay, what are you... What's with these numbers, David Ashworth? Saint-Jean, Pied-de-Port, Saint-Palais, Oloron, Montléon, Navarrenx, Bayonne, Pérorat, Bidache, Cam. Okay, and Pompidou. Okay, we are in France. That much is clear, I feel. Bayonne. Basque Country? Bayonne. Ouais. Ça y est, ça y est. Okay. So... Yeah, this is very random text. A grave lies upon? I'm guessing that it's meant to be open. In a Abgrund of a fabrication never to be found and undiscovered, something are better left alone. Yeah. That's not the greatest amount of sense that's ever been manufactured in my chat, I'll tell you that much for free. It's like, it's giving Vogon poetry. Okay. Pérorade. Okay, well... Ja, das weiß ich. Ich spreche ja Deutsch. It was just sort of, you don't generally find Abgrund in the middle of an English sentence is all. Abreton, Bayonne. There it's Bidache. Yes, yeah, Bidache is one of Cam. Bidache. So let's just see. We're headed. Okay, so we are north of Pompidou. Saint-Paul-les-Ducs. Saint-Jadzia-les-Ducs. Capbreton. Okay. Capbreton in there now. Bayonne. So if we're going south, Bayonne, okay, and the main place we're near is Pompidou. Where are you joining us from, David Ashworth? Sick. Asting. La Bastille Clarence. Okay, wait a second. Pareil. Et Pérorade. Okay, hang on. Let's see where Pérorade was to the west. Of where we are? East Perorad. North. Hey, Riveroon, how you doing? We are looking for a town called Pamplune. We are apparently to the north of it, and west, all this stuff. Thibaut? Allez. Somewhere around here. 49.52. Not too bad. Too bad. Leitkircher Straße zur Isnyer Straße. Okay. On the one hand, that is German. The other hand, those don't really feel like German street signs. There's the font feel quite right. How are the ferrets? Interkulturelle Pflege. Nullen 3-1. Okay, we are definitely in a German-speaking place. I don't know if it's Germany though. Could be. I haven't seen anything too But if there's one thing about German-speaking places, they tend to be fairly well signposted. Neubau Wohngebäude für irgendwas, was kaum zu lesen ist. L-I-P mit 4 Sätzen. Ulm? Or it could actually be Germany. I believe I think it was really blurry text, but I believe it said that this might be in Ulm. Okay, the bus stop sign is a German one. That is definitely Germany. So we are in actual Germany. No, I wasn't sure it was in Germany. I was just I've never seen signs that were street name signs that were white and in that font in Germany before. But that bus stop sign is definitely the German style. That's the color scheme. That H on that, like, field, that is how they do them in Germany and not so much in Austria or Switzerland. No, I'm fairly certain it is Germany. And probably by Ulm. I'd like to see something a little bit more definite about that. Prime time für neugierige Nachbarn. Because in that really badly overexposed sign, announcing this new, like, tower block or whatever that was, housing block that they're building. Ulm, Blaubeurer Straße. Okay, we are in or near Ulm. what looked like it could be, it was like very unclear, but it looked like the word Ulm was there. So, oh, okay. Wir sind at Ulm Central. Bus stop sign. In Ulm und Ulm herum. Klingt wie ein 20er-Jahre-Schlager. Höfingen Süd. Höfingen. Oh, toll. Frauenstraße. Höflinger. Einsteinstraße. Schumacher. Wagner. Eckmann. I have a feeling a spelling reform in English would end up making things worse somehow. I just don't really see. I mean, it's not like English has a history of doing great things with orthography. Yes. Not so much so as, like Tibetan spelling, though. Polizei. Bürgerzentrum. Katholische und evangelische Kirche. Somebody is a fan of Tupac. What's with this collection of flags, though? What do we got? We got Hungary. We've got this one I'm not sure about. We got Brazil, US, Japan, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Albania. That's Nigeria there. Poland, Germany. Something with the Union Jack as part of it. And Turkey. Yes, Italy too. Okay. Oh, it's just south of Austria in the Mediterranean. There's a word I've never seen an English translation for. Litfaßsäule. I've hardly ever seen them in English-speaking places. This is, for anyone in chat who's not familiar with, is a Litfaßsäule. You see them all over Germany, and you see them in Birmingham. And I'm not sure, I do not know what these are called in English, because I've literally never, other than Birmingham, and when I was there, I decided to, like, I was there to watch a test match. And I was there with my friend Nick, and so when I saw it, I was like, hey, what do you call this thing? Nobody had a name for it in Birmingham. That's what I was just getting to. I was like, because I figured finally I could find out what the English for this thing is, because it was the first time I'd ever seen one in a non-German speaking place. And apparently, like, they're just sort of there, and nobody has a name for them. Litfaßsäule. Tast- und Riechgarten. A touching and sniffing garden. Neat. I'm assuming it's for touching and sniffing of plants. But it's Germany, you can never be entirely certain. Oh, we were on the periphery. Well, we were well on the periphery. 49.83 though, still not bad. 5 kilometers off. A Morris column. Interesting. Like Morris dancers. Okay, we got some red clay soil, agriculture, and some trees. Red clay soil. If it weren't for the agriculture and the trees, I'd say Western Australia, because Western Australia is just red clay all the way down. With the agriculture, less certain about that. Tráfego de veículos longos. Okay. Here's we may be back in Brazil. A Morris column. Okay. Finally, there's a name for it. Except it's like a sort of almost useless name, because outside of Birmingham, I've literally never seen them any place where you'd be naming them in English. I'm finally getting closer to having a reasonably good ergonomics setup for my streaming. That has taken a while. Advertising column, okay. Yeah. Let's see. Gente fica no passeio. Where do they have red clay soil in Brazil? I don't think I've ever seen red clay in. Only Jesus saves, it says. It's got all the good promo code. There's 2 Brazils in one round of GeoGuessr. Last time we were in Pernambuco, and it featured a big semi whose owner had thought it a good idea to just like stick the word Jesus in huge letters covering up the entire middle of the windscreen. And I mean, that's that's a choice. Like, I've heard of like Jesus is my co-pilot, but I've never heard I couldn't help it, officer, Jesus was blocking my view. Gabriel Morris held the concession for advertising in France. Société fermière des colonnes Maurice. Ah, interesting. Oh, wait a second, there was a thing there. Not a terribly useful looking thing, but it's a thing nonetheless. Okay, we're on kilometer 122 of whatever the hell road this is. Red Clay Corn Freeway. Oh! Lidfoss is a name. A person's name. That explains the other thing, because I was like, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any kind of barrel or keg involved in it. I'd always kind of wondered how it ended up getting called Litfaßsäule in German as well, because I'd literally, you never, that is like the only time you ever hear of something called a Litfaß. But it's like one of those many things that you're curious about, but not so much that you can be arsed to actually go fucking look it up. The things that I've got like that could fill entire libraries. Yeah, of course you say that in English, literally, and nobody knows what the hell it is. Okay, traveled 2 kilometers. Going west. Wherever the hell we are, we're going west-northwest. Hacienda Santa Niña. I mean, maybe northern Brazil, possibly? Hard to say. There is so much Brazil, I do not have a real fix on it. Brazil is just an unreasonably large country. And there isn't anywhere near as much signposting as you'd hope for. Hacienda Santa Fe. Okay. Yeah. See, this is what I get for saying that all I have to do is get a perfect score on everything else, and I will have equaled my high score. They give me a completely unsignposted road in the back blocks of someplace in Brazil. Okay, it's wherever it is, it's extremely flat. I'm gonna guess there may be copper mines. Rural. Wow, that is a very uninformative bus. It's just rural. A word that always makes me think of Bill Hicks. Okay. Okay, we've gone 6 kilometers without a single sign indicating what road this is or where the hell we are. Apparently, a lot of semis go through here, but like, you'd think that a place with a lot of semis going through, you'd want to make sure that people know where they are? And yet? Oh, another Only Jesus Saves graffiti. Somebody is very committed to just spraying that on every sign that they can find. Oh, finally. Okay. Jaborangi, Barrietos. Places I've never heard of. But SP 326, SP 326, we are no estado de São Paulo. Okay. Let's see. They really do love suffix ópolis in Brazil. Nobody else uses it much in South America. But look at this, you have Miguelópolis, Jardinópolis, you've got Fernandópolis, Guerrópolis. Two, 6. Oh, okay. Those were the wrong road numbers. Yeah. New Odessa. Semapoli. Raisolandia. Mópolis. Barreto. Barreiro. Avi. Divinolandia. They like Landia too. Oh, yes. Saint Candida, the only fungus to ever become a saint. Apis. Buenos Aires. Just straight up, they just copied the name. Alvinlandia. That's where the chipmunks live. We even still in... Yeah, we are in... Well, yeah, you can tell because the state roots. 326. Monopoly. Bon Jesus. Dos perdões. The good Jesus with the forgivenesses, as opposed to, I guess... Jesus Maus da Vingança. That wild guess. 4464. Not bad. Okay. I'm going to take a little bio break. I will be back in just a moment. Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games. Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。 私は、
Okay, we've leveled up, and it is time to pick another language. Mordfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Uyum. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant.
Ça, ça, c'est ça, che c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyper Polyglotting avec Élise. Moi c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. Come on. Bien. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bambas, okay, Bambas is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré, des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré, des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente... è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo, io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or what? And here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, but sounds vaguely like Hogun and the hok in Hogun in Korean or Waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur sachant chasser, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idiomas, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This says Diche Ishai Boyd, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing. How are the boys? Cine da boy. Posso Milao. Pote. Buenas, proteine. Utros. Protopulo. In the designated chicken eating area, obviously.
Okay, still 3 times I have to defeat him. And I don't have a whole lot of health left.
Monsieur.
See.
Livre. Liwe livre.
Mustan kissan paksut posket.
Mateye. Pierre. C. Esopi. Mateye. Proč? Inter. Počkej. A. C.
Track 6.
Aspri petrax es aspri apton iliox ex asproteri. Aspri petrax es aspri apton iliox es asproteri.
Coginio panas.
Oh boy.
Ad ferad verda ferra ferda vetri.
Jacob. Hefed. 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 Hek. Hek. Hek.
Саша по шоссе.
А Саша по шоссе несла сушку на счастье и сосала сушку. А Саша по шоссе несла сушку на счастье и сосала сушку.
Mwalimu.
The Saturday. And it's from Muallim.
Juma ni mwalimu mke.
Ирак чима в чипах чемп чавю ченчи чини. Чирак чима в чипа да, чирак чима в чипцах чемп чавю ченчи чини. Акакит алшит. Хикрин. Акакит алши хикрин. Okay, and we're back. Started out with that took a little bit longer than I intended because of a wonderfully let's see. This feels this is giving Philippines. Yeah. Yeah. This is Philippines. Some sort of incident at my niece's school. Justos multi-purpose cooperative. So, not sure just how much coverage they have in the. Usually, they drop me in the middle of Manila, and that isn't all. Suburb of. This is. It's feeling a little bit more. Those damn eco. "92 kilometers off, not too bad." $24,091. 900 short of my record. Here we are. Could be us. So not be us. Árboles purifican el aire. Precaución ciclista. Okay, play Spanish speaking. Never seen a Los Árboles Purifican el aire sign anywhere, so that does not help me. Very lush. It's giving kind of tropical.
Not sure about these things. It's definitely not Chile. There's no way. Colombia, maybe even. I don't know if they have full street view coverage in Venezuela. La cochea merchant, alcalde. Okay, that makes me think maybe Mexico. Mexico's very big on using people's academic titles. Oh, producto. If this is Mexico, it's probably to the south. So far, I'm not sure. I mean, it could be Guatemala, Panama, for all I know. So far, there's been nothing too familiar. Too definitive. Oh, hang on. That felt like a Colombian number. Wait, choclo de dulce. Choclo. That tells me maybe we are not in choclo. They say Chile. They say it in Argentina. I don't know. Alcalde is in Mexico. They say presidente municipal. Ancan. Give me something here. Semi-synthetic bear. So puta. Pense. Hijo. Suena. Suena nada, weón.
Orange. Oh wait, a stop sign. Stop sign facing the wrong way. Ecuador, maybe? Obra de desarrollo y dignidad. Lectura Manabí. Suena tampoco, weón. El Tigre, Chirijos y Puerto Viejo. Sí se hace Manabí. Prefectura de Manabí. ¿Quién tiene prefectura, weón? No es Chile. No, sería Argentina. Tienen departamentos en el Perú. También en Bolivia. El oro está libre. Llamo. Taza. Llana. Napo. Napo. Yo. China. Yeah. Ahora una certeza acerca del país en que estamos. Ese. Okay. I've never seen AS. That is a completely new servo name. Yeah. Isn't that what part do you need replaced? Jesus. Oh, the collar and blade assembly. Good old overproduction. Kappa. Diggity. Yeah, I saw. I overlooked it first. That is a pain. Oh, hang on. Oh, okay. Let me see. Okay. I'm still none the wiser about where we are. I've got a pretty good idea of where we're not. But this is really... like, they have service station names I've never heard of. So it's not a place that I'm likely to have actually been. We're not in Chile. Definitely not in Chile. We are probably not in Peru or Colombia either. Wait a second, that looked like some kind of cop vehicle. Wait a second, is that AC? Okay, maybe we are in Ecuador. Anavi? Body. Okay. Yeah, okay, we are not in Central America. We are in South America. Because it says body. Ah, sounds nice. Okay, can we please get a website, top level domain or something on here? Ecuador ama la vida. Ok, no hace falta TLD. Ok, Amanavi. Puerto Viejo. Tijapa. Montecristi, not Montecristo. Okay. We're near some place called San Can. How warm does it have to be for cold brew? I would have thought you would want it to be unwarm for that. Pueblo Nuevo, Junín, Tajagua, Sosote, Iela. Okay, wait a second. What direction are we going? We're going east. Iki, San Lorenzo, La Chacra, La Mijú. chico, vuelo nuevo, a la escuela, carapoto. Oh, I see what you mean. Jaboncillo, boa, Mary, aján. Okay, so 2 things I've just learned about Ecuador where I've never been. They divide the place into prefecturas. Ah, Sankan, la encontrevo. There we go, 4988. They divide the place into prefecturas and they call corn choclo just like in Chile. Not knew that. Okay, this has to be the US or Canada. Yeah, mailboxes and everything. Hell, I haven't had French press coffee in a long time. Okay, while we're playing this round, I'm gonna check out the 7 most confusing languages for English speakers. Chat, any bets on what's on there? This is Ollie Richards, who has overall quite sound views on how to learn a language. There's a thing called story learning, which is very much sort of an input-based approach. Good stuff, and his videos tend to be interesting.
Some languages are so confusing they will make your brain do triple backward somersaults. I'm talking.
That was only a single somersault. I feel cheated. Klingon. I have the Klingon dictionary someplace. Ah, shit. Dead end. It will go the other way. I wouldn't be surprised if Spanish was on there just because of how regionalized it is. French because of the spelling, maybe. Yeah, I mean tonal languages, that doesn't sound wrong.
Talking shape-shifting verbs, sounds you've never even heard before, and all kinds of tricks that will make you question the idea of what a language is. There are 7 confusing languages in particular that you should know about, and if nothing else, they're guaranteed to make for good trivia.
Okay. And he's got this quiz thing, and the answers are Cymraeg, Welsh, Czechina, Czech, Magyar, Hungarian, and Islenskur. Icelandic. I mean, I wouldn't vote against
At your next dinner party.
I'm sorry, what? That's so cool! This
Ysbyty Ystwyth. Ystwyth Hospital.
is the coolest language. Cyflwyno'r aglenni'r Gymraeg a Saesneg nawr. Sa'n credu fydden ni wedi mentro mewn i'r busnes yma, sef e ddim am yr iaith, felly mae wedi bod o fydd I fi.
Listen, we've got a real fantastical world.
Also, Wales just has the best flag in the world. I mean, it's just a big fucking red dragon in the middle of the thing. You really can't beat that. Nobody else has a big fucking red dragon in the middle of the thing. Other places have, like, good weather. And, trains that work. But Wales has a big fucking red dragon in the flag, and you really cannot beat that.
World going on with Welsh, and if you ever see a dragon and think, but it speaks Welsh, well, you might be onto something. Try to read this easy word out loud.
Yeah. Glindefurdui.
Go on. Welsh is a Celtic language, one of the oldest languages in Europe. It's been evolving for 4,000 years. Very poetic and beautiful, but easy to figure out? I think not.
I started a course 2 years ago. 30 people started that course. One
Oh, this is already in HD.
bloke passed. One passed, 3 failed, and 26 dead. 26 people died trying to learn Welsh. There's one bloke choked and swallowed his tongue, the poor sod.
You seen this word? Okay, we get it. Someone fell asleep on the keyboard, didn't they? But it begs the question, can anyone actually say it right?
A long time ago, I was actually there. It's like a pretty typical Welsh
Well, like, I would imagine lots of people in Wales could say it right.
town. It was a really pretty place.
Land for well, like
Llan far pwyll go in English goger chuin inner drobwll dan disilio gogoch. I've been through there. If you take the ferry into Wales from Dublin, you always go through here. And they just, on the railways, they just call it Llanfair PG. It's always made me think there's like an advertising tie-in with PG Tips Tea, but nobody's ever gone for that. Llanfair PG Tips.
when does anyone know how to say this?
Clanfair, Pikachu, Go, Rowan, Willia, Celia, Go, Goach.
So the obvious problem appears to be more than a few missing vowels.
Goody-oo! Yeah, I mean, the name for owl is just great. Because it just sounds like an owl. It's goody-oo! It's just an owl talking, isn't it? There was actually, there used to be, unfortunately it's no longer there because of the Cardiff Council's war on having anything to do on a weekend in the city centre. But there used to be a great live music club called Goody Hoo in the city centre. Llanfair PG-13.
So maybe they're hiding in plain sight.
And Kuningen, I mean, is actually a word that is very closely related to the words for rabbit in a lot of other places, like Haninchen, Conin, Caniculus.
Sight. But we have bigger worries. Welsh nouns have genders, but good luck guessing them. There are no obvious markers like in Spanish or French. So,
in fact, the main marker, this is one of the really complicated things about Welsh, is that feminine nouns will have consonant mutation on their first consonant, the first letter.
unfortunately, there's no way to tell which is which, except in a dictionary.
It's hard to really explain how to make it. Just experiment and don't make it too harsh. So it's not, ow.
Now, try to picture this. A Welsh sentence goes verb, subject, object.
Which is less uncommon than you'd think. I mean, a lot of languages actually do that, or at least do it optionally. Like, Spanish does a lot of verb, subject, object. I mean, you can do subject, verb, object. I mean, mostly it's, subject, object, verb, rather. But you can definitely do verb, subject, object as well. I mean, Irish does that too, like the Celtic languages in general, like VSO.
And the noun comes before the adjective most of the time. So, I like the white cat is...
well, actually there's... Hofir Cath Wenidwi. I've never... That is not the way I've ever actually seen anyone say that in Welsh. Usually you would say Dwi'n hoffi'r cathwen. You can say hoffi'r cathwen I dwi. That is correct. It's very much sort of an emphasis kind of thing. But usually you will see Dwi'n hoffi'r cathwen. Du, am, I, n is a particle that connects you. It's like, I'm liking.
Like the cat white am I. If you're not Yoda, good luck making sentences is all I'm going to say. Plurals are also not easy. You can't just add an S like in English. Sometimes you change the middle of the word. Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes you take stuff off. Sometimes you add things.
The middle and the end of the word, but you might replace the ending or add an ending. Stop me when you figure out the pattern here.
Plantin is child, plant is children.
And a lot of plurals are shorter words than the singular. Some nouns even have two plural forms or just break all the rules completely. Basically, it's completely different from English. And as a beginner Welsh learner, you can't tell.
They ask me to say something in Welsh, and then immediately I forget every single word of Welsh.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not just Welsh. That's just, I mean, that happens. You ask somebody to just say a random thing. Our brains don't do language that way. Unless you've just, like, got a set piece you've prepared. So you just sort of default over to that. Say a thing in, you know, a language is a great way to just make somebody blank out in general.
A language that I normally speak better than my English.
Often the vowel changes too. Little clue there, but you haven't heard the most confusing thing of all. Ask any Welsh learner what makes their brain spin, and it'll be this.
Mam, vam.
Yeah, here we go. The consonant dreglade. The consonant mutations, I also don't quite understand them. Sometimes they seem to do a phonetic thing. Like you'll say Cymru for Wales, Ngymru for in Wales, Ngymru. Because it just sort of... I finally worked out, you know, that et prefix on etvas. I'd always kind of wondered where that came from until I started looking at Icelandic, which is the only other Germanic language that has a direct cognate to etvas. And it's eitvað, which literally means a what? So that's where that et came from, because I'd always kind of wondered, because that is like the only time in German you will see et like that.
But mab, dim treglo. Cath, a gath. But cath, a chath.
I'll explain. You know how some language...
Yeah, what he's explaining there is gender and consonant mutations. Okay, we are definitely in the US or Canada. We're by an airport, that should help us. I mean, doesn't look... US style fire hydrants. Whispering pines and acres of shade. 423 area code, which means nothing to me. I almost never end up with area codes I'm familiar with.
Languages have these things called case endings. Well, Welsh does this backwards. The change comes on the front end. You seeing this killer dragon? They
Edraig. Eidraig. Binraig.
call it a consonant mutation, and there are three kinds.
Vymrawd, not vybrawd. Why do we do this? Basically because it flows better, it sounds better.
Yeah, euphony.
So glad she cleared that one up, aren't you?
Cath, cat, but we'd say Mae'r gath yn goch instead of Mae'r cath yn coch. Mae'r gath yn goch.
Needless to say, it can be
Yeah, I mean, and you notice it flows better if you voice the... You almost, by default, just naturally already kind of voice a C that comes after, or a K that comes after an eng. So, nkoch, ngoch. I mean, so, that is a part of it. Northeast and southeast.
difficult to find words in dictionaries. You first have to know the mutations, otherwise you'll be searching for F words under F when they're really under B. Now, about those missing vowels, I didn't forget. Great news. Turns out dove
This is one thing that Irish spelling, you don't hear people say a lot that Irish spelling makes anything convenient, But one thing Irish spelling does that makes things convenient for looking things up in the dictionary in particular is that rather than just changing the letter, what Irish does is it keeps the original letter, the non-mutated form, and then pops the letter that indicates the mutated pronunciation on the front. So you can look at it and see you've got way too many consonants in a row for it to be a non-mutated form, and then you know that what you're dealing with is a consonant mutation, and you know what the original consonant is in the non-mutated form. Wilson Air Center. Okay, not a big airport at all, more like an airfield it sounds like. Tennessee 153. Okay.
W and Y are both vowels in Welsh. Problem solved. Now go back and try and pronounce those words again. And me, well, when I hear Welsh singing, that's all the convincing that I need.
The thing about Welsh that is very nice, though, is it is a language that is very consistent with morphology. Like, if you see a root, it tends to be very consistent, and the behavior is very consistent with prefixes and suffixes and stuff. So you'll have like huilio is to look for something, huilio turns it into like investigating, and you get a lot of that. That does make life a little bit easier when it comes. In fact, I have this great book that I picked up when I was in Wales called Welsh Roots and Branches, and it is just a collection of the prefixes and suffixes and word roots that are most common in Welsh and how they behave. And that stuff is very consistent, which makes up for the fact that a lot of other things are quite unpredictable.
Of course, real Welsh people speak in contractions, and did I mention that there are 5 distinct dialects? No, I didn't, but at least we've got a book of short stories in Welsh, so if you do want to try and learn, well, that might help you. Link in the description.
Co máte na létě nejradši? Wow, tak já asi to, že člověk může být venku, sportovat, hodně posedávat po venku večer a je to takový hezký kor v Praze, třeba na Letné.
Yeah, so check. There we go. I see Route 153 as well.
Internet told me that it's statistically more likely to be struck by lightning than to meet an English person who speaks Czech fluently. It is that rare because it is that confusing to learn. It also starts off really cool and fun, like, how you say hello.
Ahoj.
Yeah, well, on the other hand, see, that actually surprises me. Well, then again, wait a second. No, it really should not surprise me. Because, like, Brits love to go to the Czech Republic for stag do's. Because the alcohol is very cheap. In fact, I mean, as Frankie Boyle, he did this whole thing on British tourists and how it's probably the only country in the world where the main subject of conversation about holiday destinations is alcohol prices. Like, hey, so I heard you just got back from Prague, is it? Yeah. Pint, it's 30p a pint. I hear they have amazing museums. Quite possibly. But then it's also, the thing is, it's Brits, so of course they don't fucking learn the language. In fact, I recently learned, I recently learned, apparently I was watching, well, thanks to your link, The Quest for Carla, and it made me look up Kim Philby, from which I learned that he did the ultimate Brit move of having being professionally concerned with the Soviet Union in one way or another for his entire life, either spying on them or spying for them or living there, and he managed to go his entire life without ever bothering to learn Russian. And it's like, yeah, true Englishman right there.
Ahoy! 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 Yes, we're pirates. Why do you ask?
I love it already. Also, the spelling is about as close as you'll get to easy, and that's because it's consistent. Yep. Some of the time.
Na zdraví. Na zdraví.
But then the problems begin. First off, Czech is a Slavic language, so the grammar...
Well, it's a Slavic language that does all sorts of German stuff, which is one of the things I think is really cool about it. Like, the way you say I like is matrad, which is literally just a translation of gern haben. Rad, gern. Mat, haben. You know.
It's insane when compared with English, and it all starts with the sounds and...
Przelecielo przez 333 stříbrných střech.
And spelling.
333 stříbrných stříkaček stříkalo přes 333 stříbrných střech.
Also, the Czech Republic is the only country that has this extraordinary letter.
We have j and r and h and ny, y, ch. I remember being little and my uncle always making fun of me because I could never say tři, which means in Czech 3.
It's a very rich and nuanced vocabulary, and when you practice actually talking, what's undeniably difficult is the stress, not your stress. I mean...
Oh, wait, I found the stress, unlike a lot of other Slavic languages, the stress is pretty predictable in Czech, because it's always on the first syllable. But then you also have to deal with the fact that they have long and short vowels, like literally long and short. Like, you have E and E. Czech has very pretty vowels. They're very pure.
The pronunciation stress, it's confusing. See, stress is always on the first syllable, so a Czech sentence gets a special and unique rhythm.
Hovory s Čechy v Praze, ale i v jiných městech. Takže pokud se učíte česky, videa vám ukážou, jak spolu komunikují Češi v každodenním životě.
Nice, huh? But then you bump into 3 genders, and while in English a...
Which, I mean, that's not too unusual. I mean, for one thing, I mean, Slavic languages pretty much all do 3 genders. Germanic languages tend to...
Woman is a woman. In Czech, a woman is all of these things because of all the 7 cases. You also have to know if a thing is living or non-living, but it only matters with masculine nouns.
Yeah, well, this is a Slavic thing in general, like Russian does this too. Because the accusative form for animate nouns is not this, actually it follows the genitive, whereas it doesn't matter with feminine nouns because you change the vowel because there's usually an a on the end.
See, in Czech, this works like a sub-gender. Say you have a bunch of masculine nouns, like these. 2 of those are not alive, we hope, so they might get different case endings to the others. To make it worse, animacy, this concept, is not even literal, so plants and insects are non-living. A snowman and the deceased are living, and a robot is up for debate. And they still have to match the verbs with some missing rules. I could list all the verb things, but we won't have time here. Let's just...
Yeah, well, kind of all verbs are gender sensitive in Slavic languages because the past tense is gendered.
Just say, I think Czech verbs wake up each morning wondering, who am I going to agree with today? I mean, it has nothing on the hardest language coming up later in this list, but...
Okay, bets on what that's going to be? Is that going to be Georgian? That would be a hard one to beat. I mean, there are a few others that I can think of. Tibetan, which has absurdly complicated historical spellings that are nothing at all to do with how you actually pronounce the words in modern Tibetan. I've never tried to learn Tibetan, but I watched a native lang video on it, and it's really something. But...
My God, the drama. But okay, surely a simple conversation is straightforward, right? Well, I'm glad you asked.
One of the most difficult things that I think makes the Czech language so hard is that there's essentially two different ways of speaking. There's informal, vykání, and formal, vykání.
And how about those...
Yeah, but that's just T and V. I mean, that's not... I mean, for English speakers, that might take a minute, but that's not a distinction that is unusual. I mean, German, Spanish... I mean, in Europe, the number of languages that make that distinction in one way or another is probably greater than the number that don't.
Triple negatives. You heard me. Hold on, I'm counting 4? Let's just say in Czech, making a sentence negative often has nothing to do with logic, and there are a lot of ways to say the exact same thing. Now, Czech might not be logical, but here's something that is logical. It's liking this video and subscribing to the channel so that we can keep meeting like this, you and I. Your support counts in a huge way, and I really appreciate it.
Tehát az lenne a kérdésem, hogy mit tesz téged boldoggá?
Hát a barátaim, a barátnőm, aki otthon vár.
Yeah, Hungarian had to be on the list.
Meg úgy a családom, mindenki, aki szeret és pozitív érzelmeket táplál irántam.
If you fancy the idea of finding your way out of a labyrinth, you're going to like the confusion of Hungarian. 44 letters, and this is just one of them. It's a Uralic language, and that's where the trouble begins. You see, it's nothing at all like its neighbours. And just when you think you've beat the maze, you hit another endless passage. My friend, you are going to need a sense of humour for this.
Iránytű.
Iránytű?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the pronunciations are actually, once you learn the letters, the pronunciations are really predictable. Iránytű.
Cipőfűző.
Cipőfűző.
Kipofúzó. Kipofúzó. And now I'm French, kipofúzó.
Now for starters, Hungarian is agglutinative, one of my favourite words, which means you can stack smaller words and end up with these ridiculously long words full of consonant.
Yeah, and yet, I mean, at the same time though, actually that makes language, if you understand how it works, if you get to know it, this actually makes it really easy, because you can make up words. You can stack them together in all sorts of different ways. It's great.
Stuck together like that, again with those missing vowels, and the meanings get hilariously specific. Are you allowed to breathe? I honestly don't know. Like formula 1 driving, Hungarian is all about precision. Yep. Here come the noun cases.
Okay, and this is another thing. It sounds daunting because there are a lot of them, but it's way less daunting than it looks, because in Uralic languages and in Turkic languages, they call them cases. They behave like cases and they're tacked onto the noun and all that stuff. But really, they are doing the work of prepositions, except on the end of the word. So, like hasbo, into the house. Or into a guy called Has. Hasbol. Hasbol the Nasbol. Hasbon. So you just add these bo, bol, bon, or be, bul, ben, onto the noun, and it acts like a preposition. I mean, which is way less confusing than Indo-European cases, where there isn't usually that sort of direct correspondence between meaning and case. Like, you know, you usually have to, in Indo-European languages, we talk about a preposition governing a case. So the case itself doesn't necessarily give you any additional information, but until you add a preposition to it. I mean, with certain exceptions, like genitive and dative, that tend to be the exception from that. But in Hungarian or Estonian or Finnish or Turkish, the case ending gives you the information.
The grand total of 18 of them. What do 18 cases look like? Well, they look a little bit like this. So you want to talk about animals, let's...
Yes. Still, okay, where the hell is... Tennessee 153. It would really be helpful if we had a place name, actually. We'll get on Tennessee 153. That'll give us a sign. That'll give us a nearby place name. .153, and we're going east-ish. Airport Road. Okay, that is a truly useless sign for my purposes.
Let's make it a cow. A Hungarian cow can be any of these words, depending on what this cow is up to. Actually, one case ending is super rare, and you wouldn't normally use it for a cow, but if someone calls you a cow, it's allowed. As a cow, I have to say, let's keep the mooing on the farm. Come back.
Hey, dude. Yeah. Actually, you use that a lot more, but a lot of people don't realize that what it is. Because, like, when you are speaking in a language, you use that ul ending. Magyarul. Németül. Franciaul.
Aside, you've got to learn all of these cases. And then there's vowel harmony.
There is
this is another thing that isn't actually as hard as it looks. It's a new thing you got to keep in mind, but you can you can actually predict it fairly well, because in both the Turkic and the Uralic languages, it's with umlaut, without umlaut. If you've got one, unless you've got a compound word, where this is the exception, then all you have to do is like put an, if you've got an umlaut, then everything's got to have an umlaut. Everything gets an umlaut. And if there isn't umlauts, then nothing gets an umlaut.
no difference concerning the pronunciation, only the rhythm is different, because the first is short and the second is long.
Basically, it's a vowel matching game. A word typically uses either all front vowels or all back vowels, and the suffixes added to the word must match them. Did you count 14 vowel sounds altogether? Well, good for you. So you'll make mistakes constantly then.
Yeah, except, I mean, these vowel sounds are pretty simply organized, because a lot of them are just long and short versions of the same thing. So you've got and and u and oo, o and ah.
Come on, what do you think? But the real nightmare in Hungarian is conjugation. Wait for it. A single verb can have more than 70 variations. And even if you do something occasionally or in small amounts, the verb will change for that precise meaning. And the choice between definite...
small amounts sounds like smoking weed, not conjugating. That sounds like what you say, that's like what you say to the judge if you get a ticket for like possession with intent. You say, no, I only do it occasionally and in small amounts. Never heard that used in the context of conjugation before.
Definite and indefinite forms can subtly change the nuance of...
Yeah, látok. Yeah, this is the thing that always gets me with Hungarian. There are these indefinite and indefinite forms, and they have to do with whether the object is specific or general. Látok egy farkast. I see a wolf. Látom a farkast. I see the wolf. What's the thing in German and Arabic?
of a sentence. And after all that, you still have to think of intricate politeness levels to rival Japanese or Korean, or like...
Oh God, no, they do not rival. They that's overstating it. They definitely are more complicated than say German politeness levels or French formality levels, whatever. But it's nowhere near as many as Japanese or Korean or say Vietnamese, which has tons of them.
I can say Hungarian is a fascinating language. You're going to need a significant memory load to master.
It's very fun to pronounce too.
The different forms and rules and walk out of the maze. But is it worth it? Well, for the feather in your cap, yes it is. Maybe you should just...
And the wine is amazing. Give it that. The place is run by Nazis, but they have amazing wine.
Try the next language. What's it going to be?
Himinin var nánast svartur.
Ah. Yes. Icelandic, which is like the one Germanic language I've never really gotten anywhere near. I've tried. I have like I was in Iceland for like 18 hours. I specifically organized a stopover because when the hell else was I ever going to get to go to Icelandic used bookshops? Iceland is on the way to nowhere. But it was a cheap flight to go via Reykjavik, so I was like, okay, I'll do it. I mean, it's the only thing that was cheap about it, because Iceland is expensive. They basically, short of like sheep, fish, and puffins, and geothermal energy, have to import everything. Oh, yeah, but I mean, German does not change the verb form. See, you say for the present tense in Hungarian, the way you say I see, for example, depends on whether the thing you see is a thing or the thing. Whereas, you know, so like látom means you're seeing the thing. Látok means you're seeing a thing.
En snjórinn virtist blátindrandi í tunglskininu. Hafið lá sofandi undir ísnum og djúpt ofan í jörðinni dreymdi smádýrin öllum vorið.
Ja, dit is lang geleden. Yeah, Hungarian is an occasional one for me. Yeah, the whole verb form changes. Fun fact, the word, okay, Icelandic does some amazing long words. For example, detective in Icelandic is rannsókningslögreglumaður, which literally means ransacking cop. Rannsókning means like investigation or search. And it is the root, it is a cognate with our word to ransack. That's also like in Norwegian too. Like a search warrant is rannsakningsordre. Like just ransacking. Very Viking that.
En það var langt þangað til. Ja, þetta var rétt eftir 9 ár.
Icelandic is fascinating. Pure
It is.
beauty, ancient and isolated, full of archaic words, unique. What's really amazing is that it's the closest language to what's called Old Norse, which is the
Yeah,
Scandinavian.
it's mutually intelligible. They can read like Icelandic speakers can read the Eddas and sagas and stuff without too much difficulty, because it is basically the same language.
Language that the Vikings spoke. Remember them? Which is wonderful and horribly mispronounced by humans.
It's like a tiny pet peeve that I have when they say like Odin and Thor. Like it probably sounds really cool for the Americans, but
In Icelandic, they don't have surnames. They just have patronymics. So there is literally an app, that is used in dating there, to make sure that the person you're like chatting up isn't a close relative, which is, considering that there aren't a whole lot of people in Iceland to begin with, that is not an infrequent occasion, one would imagine.
for me it's just like low-key or low-key.
Now, it's not your fault. There are no loan words to help you at all, but you've got to love the direct link to the longboat sagas, don't you? And how cool are these leftover Old Norse letters? The alphabet hides some very rare sounds that don't exist in English. Come on, try this one out.
Heimdall is heimdallur. Heimdallur.
Yeah, this is one of the things, like, Icelandic's pretty phonetic, except that the double consonants are not double consonants. They're written double consonants. But it's actually, if you have two L's, it's pronounced TL. If you have two N's, it's pronounced TN.
The double L in Icelandic sound k, so heimdallur.
Nailed it, did you? Okay, now put it in this word.
Eyjafjallajökull. By huge clouds of ash shot into the air by Iceland's, I hope I'm saying this right, volcano.
Nice try.
Yeah, good job. You said volcano correctly. You got it. Nailed it. No notes.
Can we get some real Icelanders in, please?
So it's like this. Eyjafjallajökull. Eyjafjallajökull.
It's a new one for me, and they even have some bizarre voiceless sounds, I believe.
Icelandic has an unvoiced N, or a voiceless N. And you can try this. You make the N sound and then
Yeah, husrannsaka, han såg det. Yeah, I mean, Iceland is just, I mean, topographically, the weirdest place I've ever been. There are basically no trees. It's just these, like, sort of gray, grassy hills everywhere. And you really cannot judge what time it is based on the light level. Like, I was there in summer. And I went to a pub where the pints were like basically a tenner a pint. Most bloody expensive pint I've ever had. I mean, that's like, you can get a pint of wine for less than that in Italy. And I was killing time because I had a flight. I was, in a relatively early flight, and I wanted to hang out in fucking Iceland because when was I going to get another chance? But the thing is, it doesn't get dark. Like, the darkest it got the entire time I was there in, like, I think it was July or so, it looked like 6 p.m. here. Was the darkest it got. Like, just, like, the sun pretending that it was about to set, but then not doing it. So you would go out, and it's like, it's like 1 in the morning, it's like midnight, 1 in the morning, and it's still broad daylight out there. And you could easily just think that the night was young, when in fact the night was actually getting on a bit.
Then you turn off your vocal cords. It is basically just breathing through your nose.
So learning Icelandic words is daunting, but it's hard not to love them. They're so descriptive. It's really quite addictive.
Fagradalsfjall.
Þráskjaldahraun.
Keilir.
Þorbjörn.
The longest Icelandic word is Vaðlaheiðar vegavinnu verkfæra geymsluskór lykla kipurhringurinn.
Forget the long words.
And then the other thing is that they do have explicit declensions in Icelandic. Basically the only Germanic language that has preserved declensions other than the genitive.
Even with short ones, there are so many different word endings to learn. What's your favorite color? You say blue? Sorry, man, you can't just learn the word for blue because all of these are blue and you have to pick the right one.
Yeah.
Why? Well, to compete with Hungarian, obviously. Icelandic nouns can be a nightmare at first. We're talking 4 noun cases.
Yeah, and unlike other Germanic languages, the numbers are gendered.
Each with their own subclasses and 3 genders, each with strong and weak options. And the numbers. How many ways can you say the number 2? Because guess what? There are cases for numbers and even cases for names, though I don't know what's going on with Anna. Inconsistent much?
Yeah, Anna, Unnu.
More confusing rules to learn. Sentence order goes subject, verb, object, just like English, but then they go and give you freedom with that as well. So good luck with reading. Although actually, with this book, it's quite fun to read Icelandic. I'll link in the description. And here is a fun struggle. Icelandic adjective endings can be a real pain. Unlike English, Icelandic uses strong and weak verb conjugations as well as strong and weak adjectives. Strong and weak adjectives? That's right, it's a bit like Old English. See, Icelandic is chock full of wonderfully weird extras. If you want to talk about the future, you have to kind of hint at it. And this one's a real curveball. Ever heard of middle voice? I know you've heard of Middle Earth, I'm not talking about that. Middle voice isn't your typical active or passive voice, but it's a very Icelandic mix of both. Say, the window opens. Do you know who?
Gluggen opnast. Yeah, okay, this is a thing Scandinavian languages have, where they have this form that is like a reflexive form. So opnast, that st on the end, makes it into it's doing it itself. It is being open.
Who opened it? Well, not me, but someone knows it opened, and that is called middle voice. Confused yet? Well, stranger things are on the way. By the way, if you like strange and mysterious stories and you think it might be fun to learn a language through story, you should check out Story Learning right here, because that's exactly what we do. We've taught tens of thousands of students a new language using stories, because we've figured out that stories tend to clear up all the confusion, because you learn naturally. You don't have to on your brain to memorize all these silly rules. So the language finally sticks in your head. It really works. And you really do learn faster this way and with less stress. If you're keen to see how story learning works, you can get a free tour of the story learning method. Just look for my story learning kit in the video description below. Completely free. There's a link to click. That'll take you to the right place.
Euskal Amerikar askoagoz eta geure alkarteak dekoz. Berorrek zoratzen behar duzue Euskarez borbetan jardutenan Amerikar bat untzuteetik.
Basque is like the only Western European language that shares polypersonal verbs with
into the far north of Spain, near the French border. Well, that's called Basque country. Wonderful place. And the best thing about Basque is that there's no other language like it on earth. It's
English has sort of a middle voice that is used only when you're talking about cops.
What's called a language isolate, the last remaining descendant of a language of prehistoric Europe. Some of its words are from the Stone Age, I'm not kidding. So even if you've already learned 11 languages, they won't help here. Learning to speak Basque, well, it's pretty exciting.
Argument. It's a vaida. Where does that come from? S and by, no and yes. That is amazing.
You know what I really love? All the X's. I mean, seriously, I've never seen a language with so many X's and Z's. It's pretty cool.
Well, check out the Bantu languages of Southern Africa. They love the X's. They're clicks.
Like that. They're just messing with you, though. The X's, they're not even the hard part.
Ola garro eta potrainska chichi urunzia.
How do you say hello? A really common cutesy way of saying hello in the Basque Country these days is kaixo. Kaixo.
Like Hungarian, it's agglutinative, so you can build lots of words, lots of long words like that. Everything from funny-looking suffixes to long words. Basque has 14 noun cases. Trying to steal someone's thunder there, are we? But then it makes all of its own rules.
Yeah, but again, I mean, and I know very next to nothing about Basque, but I was just looking at that list, and it's a lot of cases, but all they're really doing is, you know, acting the way prepositions do in Indo-European languages.
Grammar is Silada. It's a bit unusual, and it's nothing like we're used to.
By now, weird sentence order is not going to shock you, but get this. Basque uses something very rare in languages. It's called ergative absolutive alignment.
Yeah, this is a very popular thing in the Caucasus.
Yeah. And what on earth is this? Is it a Star Trek reference or something? No, it's a fancy way of saying that the subject of a sentence can have two possible forms depending on whether they are doing the action or it's happening to them. So here's a guy reading a book. He's doing the action, so his name gets a K added on. Strange, right? The point? Well, even if you only hear part of the sentence, you'll know that this dude is doing something. I know, it's weirdly clever. Seems like quite an alien way to speak, but it's just...
Yeah, Georgian does this too. I mean, like, Chechen does it. They love ergativity in the Caucasus.
It's another day in the land of Basque.
Euskera ez da nire ama, ni ba naiz bere
Okay, now remember what an auxiliary verb is? You might remember this from school. Tiny little thing, usually. Just wait though, Basque auxiliaries are not tiny. They're extremely powerful. In Basque, the helper verb changes based on who is doing the action, who is affected by it, and for whom it's being done.
Bro, this is polypersonality.
Auxiliary verb encoding all those details is quite remarkable, and it agrees with the subject, the object, and even the indirect object. So yes, verbs are notoriously difficult and confusing, but my favorite has to be the intriguing, confusing, wonderful number system. Move over, French. Basque is in town. 91, well, it's 4 20s and 11, obviously.
Oh, well, 420. I mean, you gotta have that. Yeah, this is another thing Georgian does. Georgian also, actually, that is the exact way that you would say, 91 in Georgian.
999? Well, it's 980 and 19, obviously. Georgian is a Caucasian language, yes, that's a thing, and it's one of those languages you don't really hear about if you're not from Europe, but it's absolutely...
Okay, we're gonna have to cut this short. It is time to start wrapping up and for me to start thinking about doing dinner things. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I will be back tomorrow on Twitch at 4:30 p.m. US Eastern Time, and I hope to see you there. Yeah, French does too, and traditionally Welsh has a base 20 counting system, except when they decided to set up the Welsh-speaking colony in Argentina, in Patagonia, they decided to do decimal. They decimalized Welsh there, and then they brought it back, and Welsh learners are infinitely grateful for this because it's so much easier to work with. See you soon.